Get that camera the away from me.
I was so appalled by the way I looked.
So here's what actually happened, and why it's way more complicated than anyone's reporting. Pedro Pascal didn't just wake up one day and decide to quit Disney. This has been building for almost 2 years, and the real story involves creative control, money, and a fundamental disagreement about what Star Wars should be in 2025. Let's start with the basics. Pedro Pascal has been the face of Disney Plus since literally day one. When Disney launched their streaming service in November 2019, The Mandalorian was their flagship show, and it worked. The service gained 10 million subscribers in its first day, largely because everyone wanted to see what this mysterious helmeted bounty hunter was all about. But here's what people don't realize. Pascal was never supposed to be the star.
I mean, it's obviously very scary for an actor who participated in a movie to sort of speak to issues like this.
What?
It's
so do it anyway.
Far too intimidating of a question for me to really. I'm not informed enough. I want people to be safe and to be protected.
Originally, The Mandalorian was conceived as this faceless character. The whole point was that you'd never see his face, never know who he really was. Pascal was brought in as a voice actor who'd occasionally wear the suit. But something happened during filming. Pascal's performance, even under the helmet, was so compelling that they started rewriting the entire show around him. By episode 3, Din Djarin wasn't just a bounty hunter anymore. He was a father figure, a protector, a character with actual depth. This is where the first cracks started showing, because Pascal was doing all this incredible work, emotional scenes, action sequences, building this character from scratch. But he was getting paid like a supporting actor. We're talking $100,000 per episode for a show that was generating hundreds of millions in merchandise sales. Baby Yoda toys alone made over $2 billion in 2020, and Pascal was seeing exactly zero of that money. But money wasn't even the main issue. The real problem started with season 2. Disney executives started getting more involved in the creative process. They wanted more action, less character development. They wanted Din Djarin to be more like traditional Star Wars heroes. Less complicated, more marketable. Pascal pushed back. He'd spent a year building this character, and he wasn't about to see him reduced to just another action figure.
You think people are gonna cancel you like they canceled Gina Carano and nobody spoke up to save her and keep it from happening again, this like endless cycle that we're talking about? You pansy.
The conflict escalated during season 3. Disney wanted to spin off The Mandalorian into multiple shows. Rangers of the New Republic, Ahsoka, Boba Fett, and they wanted Pascal to appear in all of them, not as cameos, but as major supporting roles. Essentially, they wanted to turn him into the new Samuel L. Jackson, showing up in every Star Wars property to provide continuity. But here's the thing, Pascal never signed up to be a franchise player. He signed up to tell one specific story about one specific character.
I was so appalled by the way I looked. Unless it were completely necessary, if they had asked me to be clean-shaven for Fantastic Four, if they had insisted, I would have done it.
This is where we need to talk about the Fantastic Four situation, because it's actually connected. For the past year, there's been this assumption that Pedro Pascal would play Reed Richards in Marvel's upcoming Fantastic Four movie. The internet basically decided it was happening. Fan art, casting rumors, confirmation videos, the whole thing. But here's what actually happened. Pascal met with Marvel. They discussed the role and then nothing. No offer, no contract, just radio silence. But while this was happening, Disney was using the Fantastic Four rumors as leverage. They were basically saying to Pascal, look, if you want to play Reed Richards, you need to commit to our larger plan. More Mandalorian appearances, more crossovers, more everything. It was a classic studio move. Use one project to pressure an actor into another. But Pascal wasn't playing that game. The breaking point came during negotiations for The Mandalorian Season 4. Disney presented Pascal with a new contract that was, let's call it, ambitious. They wanted him for 5 more seasons of The Mandalorian, appearances in at least 3 other Star Wars shows, and a commitment to appear in any Star Wars movie they decided to make over the next decade. The money was better, significantly better, but the creative restrictions were intense. They wanted approval over any other projects he took on. They wanted scheduling priority for any Star Wars content. They basically wanted to own his career for the next 10 years. And here's where Pascal's team did something really smart. They started looking at the numbers. Disney was offering roughly $20 million over 10 years, which sounds like a lot until you realize that Pascal could make that same money doing 2 seasons of a prestige HBO show, plus have complete creative freedom. Netflix was reportedly offering $30 million for a limited series. Apple TV Plus was throwing around numbers that made Disney's offer look insulting. But more importantly, Pascal started having conversations with other actors who'd been through the Disney machine. Oscar Isaac, who'd done Star Wars and was now doing Moon Knight, told him about the creative frustrations. John Boyega shared his experiences with how Disney handled diversity and character development. Even Robert Downey Jr., who'd made hundreds of millions with Marvel, warned him about the long-term effects of being tied to one franchise. This is when Pascal started pushing back. He told Disney he was willing to do one more season of The Mandalorian, but only if they gave him more creative control. He wanted input on the storylines, the character development, the overall direction of the show. He wanted to be a producer, not just an actor, and Disney's response was essentially, "That's not how we do things." The final straw came during Disney's investor presentation last month. They had this whole segment planned where they were going to announce Pascal as Reed Richards, complete with concept art and everything. But they wanted him to sign the contract first. Pascal's team asked to see the actual script for Fantastic Four, to understand what the role would entail. Disney refused. They wanted him to commit to the role without knowing what the role actually was.
We need it, baby.
Very codependent. Just like I'm very codependent on film.
This is when Pascal made his decision. He told Disney he was out, not just out of Fantastic Four, but out of The Mandalorian, out of Star Wars, out of everything. He was willing to fulfill his current contract for Season 4, but after that, he was done. The industry reaction was immediate and intense. Every major studio started calling Pascal's agent within hours. Netflix offered him a first-look deal worth $50 million. Amazon wanted him for their Lord of the Rings spin-offs. Apple TV Plus basically said, "Name your price." Suddenly, Pascal wasn't just an actor. He was the most in-demand talent in Hollywood. But here's what's really interesting. Pascal isn't just walking away from Disney. He's walking away from the entire franchise system. He's proving that actors don't need to be tied to one universe to be successful. He's showing that you can be a massive star without selling your creative soul.
You just see Vanessa Kirby stroking Pedro Pascal's neck.
The implications of this are huge. We're already seeing other actors start to question their franchise commitments. There's talk of major renegotiations happening across the industry. Studios are realizing that the old model, lock an actor into a decade-long contract for one big payday, might not work anymore. And Disney, they're in full damage control mode. They've reportedly offered Pascal everything he originally asked for and more. Creative control, producer credits, better money, the whole thing. But Pascal's not interested anymore. He's moved on. This isn't just about one actor being difficult, this is about the entire entertainment industry shifting. Actors are realizing they have options. Streaming services are competing for talent in ways that traditional studios never had to. And the old franchise model, where one studio owns an actor's career for a decade, is starting to look outdated. What's particularly fascinating is how this affects The Mandalorian, because Din Djarin without Pedro Pascal isn't just recasting a role, it's fundamentally changing the show. Pascal's performance, his choices, his chemistry with Grogu, that's all irreplaceable. Disney can recast the role, but they'll lose what made the character special in the first place. The fan reaction has been equally interesting. Star Wars fans, who are usually pretty divided about everything, seem to be united in supporting Pascal. The general sentiment is, good for him, rather than, how could he leave Star Wars? This suggests that audiences are also starting to understand the business side of entertainment, and they're more sympathetic to actors' creative needs. Looking at Pascal's upcoming projects, it's clear he's not retiring or stepping away from acting. He's just being more selective. He's producing more, taking on roles that challenge him creatively, and maintaining control over his career. He's essentially becoming the kind of actor that other actors aspire to be: successful, respected, and creatively fulfilled. This whole situation also highlights the changing nature of stardom in the streaming era. In the old studio system, actors needed franchises to stay relevant, but Pascal is proving that you can be a massive star without being tied to one property. His work in The Last of Us shows that he can carry a show that's completely separate from Star Wars, and audiences will follow him. The long-term implications for Disney are significant. They've built their entire streaming strategy around franchise content, and they're starting to realize that strategy has limitations. Actors want more than just a paycheck. They want creative fulfillment, reasonable schedules, and respect for their craft. Disney's old model of demanding total commitment in exchange for franchise participation might not work in the current market. What's particularly telling is that Pascal isn't burning bridges. He's been professional throughout this entire process, fulfilling his current obligations while making it clear that he won't be continuing. This isn't about drama or ego, it's about business and creative control. And that's probably what's making Disney most nervous. Because if Pedro Pascal, the guy who helped launch Disney+, who made The Mandalorian a cultural phenomenon, who's been nothing but professional for 4 years, if this guy is willing to walk away, what does that say about their treatment of other talent? How many other actors are having similar conversations with their agents right now? The answer, according to industry insiders, is a lot. We're seeing a fundamental shift in how actors approach franchise work. The old model of signing away a decade of your career for one big role is starting to look less appealing. Actors want flexibility, creative control, and fair compensation. And increasingly, they're finding that outside the traditional franchise system, this isn't the end of Pedro Pascal's career. It's the beginning of his real career. He's proven that he can be successful without being tied to one franchise. He's shown that actors have more power than studios want to admit. And he's demonstrated that audiences will follow talent, not just intellectual property. In the end, this story isn't really about Pedro Pascal versus Disney. It's about the evolution of the entertainment industry, the changing nature of stardom, and the increasing power of individual talent in an era of infinite content. Pascal just happened to be the first major actor to successfully navigate this new landscape. And honestly, good for him. Because in an industry that often treats actors as interchangeable parts in a larger machine, Pedro Pascal just proved that sometimes the machine needs the actor more than the actor needs the machine. That's not just a career move, that's a paradigm shift. Peace out, Seshers!